on what actually happened, what actually was said, and what actually wasn't said. So let's go through this here. So factually, Dillon Gabriel, named starting quarterback, Cleveland Browns. They will play Sunday in London against the Minnesota Vikings, okay? Joe Flacco is the number 2 quarterback. Shedeur Sanders is the number 3 quarterback. That all exists. So factually, Rex Ryan on Get Up on Monday, ESPN NFL analyst and former NFL head coach with the Jets and the Bills, had this to say about Shedeur Sanders prior to the naming of Dillon Gabriel as starting quarterback.
I look at Stefanski as an outstanding coach, but why the hell isn't he putting Shedeur Sanders? We're all waiting to see the Shedeur Sanders be the guy or Gabriel, whatever. Something's missing. Something's missing with this kid. This kid talks. He runs his mouth like I could be a starting quarterback with his arms crossed like this. Get your ass in the front row and study and do all that. If I know, the whole league knows. Quit being an embarrassment that way. You got the talent to be the quarterback. You should be. You should be embarrassed that you're not the quarterback now.
Okay, so Rex said that on Monday. Now, this is not in fact, this is interpretation. It felt as if he had information he was sharing that he was passing along to the masses. That's my personal interpretation of what Rex was saying, okay? So obviously, the number one person that everyone's going to want to speak to was Shedeur Sanders. Justin Cooper, ESPN Cleveland Browns reporter, was in the locker room yesterday asking Shedeur questions, and Shedeur decided to go mime. He decided to say nothing while saying nothing. Like literally mouth words without actually speaking words. Let's stop there. I tried to deal in as much fact as I possibly could deal with. Now your reaction, both of you, your interpretation of what has happened here, because the mime act, just for clarification, was in quote-unquote response to Rex Ryan's comments, not to his teammate being named starting quarterback, Dillon Gabriel.
Clown shoes, man. And I try to be objective when talking about Shedeur Sanders, because there have been a lot of people that have peddled in rhetoric and not been intellectually genuine when it comes to framing arguments around why this young man is not playing. There's been a lot of speculation. There's been a lot of character assassination. And I'm not here for any of that towards Shedeur. But sometimes this young man does things that are hard to defend, and quite frankly, they're unprofessional. And that's what I saw yesterday. There was a lack of maturity in his response to Rex Ryan with the meme or whatever you want to say, whatever you want to call it, however you want to characterize it. It's frustrating because you want him to walk in the role of eventually being a starting quarterback and carrying himself in that way, to have the proper decorum, to treat all the media members with respect, to answer their questions as truthfully, as honestly, as forthright as you possibly can. So when you're asked a question, to respond in that way by miming and making a spectacle, I just think it's something that's unnecessary, because now that is fodder for the conversation, and that can serve as a distraction, knowing that your other fellow rookie quarterback, Dillon Gabriel, is now getting the starting quarterback job, and people believe, based on your response, that you feel some type of way about it. You doing that is the opposite end of the spectrum in terms of how you should handle it when it comes to fully supporting your teammates. And that includes Dillon Gabriel, because Kevin Stefanski made the decision that he's going to be the starting quarterback. So what do? Even though it doesn't go your way, you find a way to support him in any way that you can, while also making sure that you stay ready. So when your number is called, when you get your opportunity, you show at your best. That is frustrating to see how Shedeur Sanders handled that. He's got to be better in those types of moments.
For sure. And one of the issues, I think, here is Shedeur finding the right note and finding the right lane for himself. And let me explain. So you always talk about you want your quarterback to have confidence. You want the quarterback to believe in himself no matter what. And that permeates through the locker room. When you have what you believe to be that guy under center, it's infectious. Everybody gets on board with that. So I commend Shedeur Sanders for believing in himself. That is a skill that a lot of people wish that they had. You don't want your quarterback to be diffident. You want him to be somebody that steps up and tells you that he's got you at any moment. However, I also don't want you to be delusional. I need you to have some self-awareness. That's what leaders do. They understand what note to strike at what time. And if we're going to absolutely crush Dillon Gabriel in the preseason for making the entertainers versus competitors comment when he was in a quarterback battle with Shedeur Sanders at the time, how are we supposed to interpret him miming a media moment after Dillon Gabriel was named the starter and not supporting his teammate? That's when you need to say, I don't care what Rex Ryan had to say about me. I don't care what the media has to say about me. I'm here to support my teammate. I'm here to be the best teammate that I can be. And I'm here to work on my craft. That's it. I'm not going to engage in any sort of rhetoric or back and forth with what the media thinks about me. If anything, Shedeur Sanders should have been like, oh, so you're hearing that I don't prepare? Let me put my head down and not engage in this and show you how good I prepare. I'm going to do anything I can to make sure that if and when Dillon Gabriel isn't the guy or my moment presents itself, the story is going to be about how I play football, not about what I say in the media or what I do outside of work. And by doing this, maybe he thought it was funny. Maybe he thought this was his little way of engaging with Rex Ryan and with the media, but it was not the right time to do it.
Very fair all around, and I think really important to bring up the critique we had of Dillon Gabriel in the preseason as a comparison to this. I think that, unfortunately, and I've been a Shedeur Sanders supporter through all of this, what he's doing is allowing all of those who are not to have the confirmation bias of why they were not, even though when they weren't, there was nothing tangible to actually lean on. Now there seems to be. There is a skill that I believe that you get over time when you're a professional in any walk of life, but especially when you meet with the media like professional athletes do on a daily basis, to be able to say nothing while saying something. And he said nothing while saying nothing. There's a very easy way of speaking to the media when you're the third string quarterback like he is, which we will get to that part coming up as to why the third versus second, because that's become a whole thing in terms of the Browns depth chart. But when asked the question about Rex's comments, you can answer that question with actual verbal, audible words, say nothing, and have people move on. It's not that difficult to do. And the way in which he did, I understand his intention. His intention is simply, I'm not adding to this. I'm not commenting on it.
It's whatever I say or whatever I don't say, you're going to have a problem.
But he is adding to it.
He added to it in the biggest possible way, because I can promise you on our show, I can't promise you everywhere, but I can promise you on our show, that if he was asked about that, about Rex's comments, and he just simply said, I am focused on the Cleveland Browns and getting myself and my team better every single day. I love being here. I'm working my butt off to get to the opportunity to play, and I'm not worried about what anyone else is saying that's not in this locker room. We would praise him on our show. I'm not saying everywhere. On our show, we would praise him. Great. You squashed it. You move on. You're deflecting attention. You're just doing your job as a... By the way, let's be clear. He should not be a... Fifth-round rookie QBs don't start.
Well, then don't say that you're ready to start. Don't say you're better than quarterbacks across the league.
But here's the other problem that I have, though, and this is the part where I've got to be honest about it. We're asking him to do something that is counter to human nature. Human nature is to want to defend yourself against people that are taking shots at you and folks that are not in the know. Rex Ryan is not there every day. He doesn't know that Shedeur Sanders is getting out on the practice field first and he's the last one to leave. He's not. He doesn't know that. But that's what was happening. That's what was reported during the preseason and training camp. You don't know that. So to hear people say things about you that are factually inaccurate, to hear people say things about you that can at some points be flat out lies, is frustrating.
Sure.
And that is him taking out that frustration. And this is a young man. He's in his early 20s. I understand that there are going to be some missteps. I just wish that yesterday wasn't one of them because of the stakes and knowing who's involved, the other rookie quarterback in Dillon Gabriel.
Absolutely. We are witnessing the maturation process in real time. He's a young man. There's going to be mistakes. However, when you come out and say, look across the league, I could play better than these guys. If you're purporting to be a franchise quarterback, because that's what you're saying when you're saying I'm ready to start. I'm ready to put this franchise on my back. To be a franchise quarterback, it's more than just your play. You're representing a brand and you're representing that locker room. Do you think Jalen Hurts is taking stock of everything that everybody's saying about him and he's addressing it in his post-game presser? Is he addressing it with the media? No, he's saying, we won the game. I'm letting my play and my championships speak for themselves.
All right, we're going to stop right there. We're going to continue this conversation. There's a lot to get to with some of these words that were not said around the Cleveland Browns. We'll do that next. We're on Sportsmanlike, presented by Progressive Insurance.